one of the things that I find a lot of people do, especially when they have a young puppy, is they pet it ad nauseum. Now, petting a puppy is a good thing. It's positive reinforcement. It's a great way for us to show that we love them. However, if your favorite dessert is chocolate cake and you have chocolate cake after every single meal, after about 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, can I get a carrot? It loses its allure if you get it too much. I practice something called petting with a purpose. Basically, I consider petting a dog our way of paying the dog. So if the dog comes up and nudges me with its nose and it's telling me what to do and I pet it, well, the dog's telling me, I can tell the human what to do, and look, the human responds. So clearly I have dominion over the human. So what I do, going looking for the treat, that's awesome. So what I do is the dog nudges me, I tell it to sit. As soon as it sits, then I pet it under its chin. When a dog feels good about himself, his nose is parallel to the ground or tilted up. When they feel insecure, their nose is tilted down. Petting a dog on top of the head creates a downward orientation. So if you get in the habit, try to pet them under their chin and facilitate that nose up. Doesn't mean that you can't scratch their butt or other places, but if everything else is equal, try to scratch them under their chin. When I pet them, I say the command word only. So the dog sits, I pet it and say sit. Not good sit, not good dog, just sit. After a while, what will happen is the dog will come and sit in front of you and prepay for your attention by sitting. When they do that, then we want to go ahead and pet them and say the word sit. This leads me to something I call passive training. Every time the dog comes to me, I pet it and say, here. That's my dog's command word. Every time it sits down next to me, I pet it and say, sit. Every time it lays down, I pet it and say, crash. Even though the dog does it and I don't ask it to do it. After a while, this creates the dog understanding. We call it being operant, when the dog I can go and sit in front of the human and get the human's attention. We don't want to pet the dog if it jumps up on us, because what is cute when the dog is this big is not as cute when the dog is this big. So we call this learning to mand or manding. So what you do is basically one of the things I would recommend that you do with your puppy, when he has his shots, you take him out, he's awfully cute, have a handful of these, a bag full of these treats. Actually, one like these treat pouches, you can keep it open, clip it to your belt when you're done, you just collapse it shut. When you want it open, it's open, you can easily access it. Everybody's gonna want to pet your puppy. Can I pet your puppy? Would you like to give him a treat? I always one-up them. I'd love to give it a treat. So what I do is I hold the treat up like this. I hold my hand. Whenever I give a treat, I have a flat hand like this. Because from the dog's perspective, this looks like I have a treat, and they will track you. And then those times you don't have a treat, you go like this. And it's like, oh, it looks like I have a treat. So I go over in an arc over the dog's head, and that puts their head up, and eventually puts their butt down. As soon as their butt hits the ground, I lower the treat immediately. The dog tilts its head down, and then takes the treat off of my hand. And then I start tickling them under their chin simultaneously. This means that later on, when I pet them just by tickling them under the chin, it's almost an analog of getting the treat. And I say just the word sit. Then I would give the treat to the person who wanted to pet my dog, and then they will do the exact same thing. After doing this for about a month, I would go out and about with my dog, and he would just walk up in front of strangers, and he'd sit down and he'd say, hey sucker, I'm sitting down, where's my treat? And people are like, your dog is so well behaved and so trained. All he did was just everybody gave him a treat if he sat down in front of them. Lowe's and Home Depot are dog-friendly stores. So if your dog does not have its shots, taking it to Lowe's or Home Depot is a great place to walk it, because you're not going to walk or encounter other dogs. There shouldn't be anything on the ground that we have to worry about them picking up. And it's a great place that's not going to have a lot of distracting sights and smells, lets them focus on sitting and earning attention from other people. So I started off with petting with the purpose, and we kind of transition a little bit. I want to finish up on petting with the purpose. What I would recommend you do, try as much as you can not to pet your dog for no reason. Ask it to sit. Again, I use my hand motion, put it in a sit, and eventually I can tell the dog to sit while I'm having a conversation with somebody else, and have 2 conversations. And after a while, that dog gets the impression, I can't tell the humans what to do. I have to ask, and I have to pay for it with the currency of obedience. Last little thing, people don't realize how often they pet their dogs. So I usually recommend the word paycheck as a watchword. So if you come in the room and you see your husband is petting the dog, you say paycheck, husband holds it like this, says that sit. As soon as the dog sits, we pet it on the chin, and we say, I asked her to sit before you came in the room, and then she got up when you came in the room, and I continue to pet her, which is allowed. But the dog should have to either prepay, or we should make them change their state. If they're already sitting, make them lie down. Or if they're sitting here, make them sit over here. Petting with a purpose is the easiest thing that you can do that will have the biggest impact on your dog, because if you get in the habit of doing it, you'll do it without even thinking, and every time you do, it's a mini dog obedience training session for your dog without even thinking it. This is what I like to call petting with a purpose.